All right, are we ready to go?
I believe we are.
Okay, is there anything new that's come up since this has been submitted with for Mr. King?
So right before you guys approved him for the interview for today, he was placed in ADSEG for fighting. He states that there was an issue between the other person, friend, and him, and his friend didn't agree with what had happened between the two of them, and it followed inside of here. He believes that it's a done issue now. He is currently level 1. So he will be there for about 30 days before he can move back up in level. We are still supporting the parole to his federal detainer. He's been adjudicated for 210 months consecutive to Iowa. So his time for the feds is not even starting until he goes to their custody. Since he discharges here in 2026, he can go ahead and start that federal time. We're not going to recommend that he do treatment here because he'll be required to do it while he's in federal custody.
Yep, so we're still looking at the extended stay with the feds.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions?
Sure. I know.
I think we're ready to go.
All right.
Good morning, Mr. King.
Morning.
How are you?
Doing all right. How are you?
Good. Can you hear us okay?
I can.
Okay, my name is Dana Wingert. Next to me is James Moses, Jesse Rincon on the end. We're going to be the 3-member parole board that'll be interviewing you today. Before we get rolling here, I want to go over some things with you that you need to know. The first thing that's important for you to know is that we're in a public forum. So what that means is members of the public or the media are able to listen to this interview, but they are not able to participate. During this interview, we'll talk about personal and confidential information like your medical history, mental health history, substance abuse history, excuse me, treatment, and other confidential information. Do you understand that we might discuss some of those things here today?
Yes, sir.
Do you still wish to proceed with the interview?
Yes.
Okay, so what's going to happen is that each of the 3 of us will probably have some questions for you, and we'll start with you with our questions first. Before we decide to have this interview with you, we reviewed everything, all the information from your counselor. We are also able to do a lot of research and look at other information like your criminal history, documents from your criminal case, your behavior in prison, any treatment classes you've done. So this interview is only a small snapshot of what we've researched in order to make our decision on what to do with you today. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, once we're finished asking our questions, I'll give you an opportunity to add anything that you may have prepared for us or anything you'd like us to know. Once you've made that statement, the 3 of us will go into what we call deliberation. That's where we'll discuss what our decision is going to be. During that deliberation, you'll just sit back. You'll be able to hear us. You'll be able to hear our conversation and our comments, but you just sit back and listen. Once we've reached a final decision, we'll come back to you and I'll explain that to you. Do you have any questions before we get started?
No, sir.
Okay, so why don't you give me a detailed description of why we're here today, the crimes that were committed that landed you here, what was going on in your life, and how did you end up in prison?
In 2019, I was over at a friend's house. A girl there was an altercation, and I got scratched, whatever. But the main thing that happened is I hit her. And when I pled guilty, I did plead guilty. I told them exactly what happened. And but they did agree that I pled guilty to hitting her without the intent to hurt her. There was an altercation, but that doesn't excuse it. My dad beat my mom when I was a kid. And I don't respect anything to do with that, but that's just to tell you what happened. Since then, you know, I was at Fort Dodge. I don't remember if it was you guys that I saw there. My counselor, Miss Walters, and actually Sheila Roush back here, I've taken a treatment class with her, thinking for a change. And then with Miss Walters, I took, I think, active. And the things that kind of, so that's what brought me to prison. Some of the things that I learned that I thought I had a better grasp of was trying to see past, you know, the immediate situation, you know, to replace some thinking, to have defense set up. But what I've found is once I'm here, in the best of situations, I can always remember those things. And for the last year here, I have. What I didn't see coming, and a lot of times don't, is like with the addiction, it never catches me when I've got everything in place to work against it. And that's what brought me back. Since I've been here, and you said this is public, but I had some federal charges. There was some, I cooperated against the guy. He was here, and in the scheme of things, he came after me and we got into an altercation. What I can tell you is I know better than that. I know all the ways that Mr. Roush and Miss Walters taught me, but from childhood, you know, the PTSD and the things that I've worked through, I've even been on medication, but in that instance, for whatever reason, and I apologize for it, I was in the wrong, but in that instance out in the hallway, you know, it led to an altercation. The only win I can tell you that comes from that is when the COs asked me to stop, I did stop. I was respectful. I didn't, you know, I didn't fall farther into the behavior. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. Now you have a long storied history of crimes. Okay, we got weapons charges, we got drug charges, you know, some theft charges. You know, you're in as a habitual offender. What do you think the common denominator is with those charges? The reoffending, the failure on supervision, you know, those kinds of things.
Without making it sound like an excuse, I was brought up horribly. I didn't realize that it was that way until I've gone through some of these other things. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if I knew the difference between right and wrong. If I was given two choices, the right decision it wasn't even part of the multiple choice. I don't know. And all I can say is that, and except for I did get this charge with the feds, the weapons charges, they've always been like whatever you would call being in possession, but it's never been something where I use a weapon or display or show aggression with weapons. But I have always been kind of aggressive and violent, and I don't know what else to tell you except of the way I was brought up. But what I can say is that except for this damn incident in the hallway, I've really worked towards bringing that down. And I think if you ask any of the corrections, they're going to tell you that I'm respectful. I stay out of the way, and I know that doesn't make up for this happening, but the things that I've learned haven't fell on deaf ears. You know what I mean? I try to apply it, and I know that's easy to say with my record, but that's all I have.
Did meth play a part in this?
Absolutely. I was out for a couple of years. I had a great job. I worked through, I was a scaffolding foreman. I traveled and worked. I was doing great. I was within 2 months of getting granted early release from parole. I was moving to Ohio for a new job. And I thought that I thought it'd be all right. I started using. I started trading weapons for drugs, and that is how I got the weapons charge with the. It wasn't, just so you know, and I'm not trying to justify that either. But one thing I've never been, you know, out there using weapons in crimes, but I did get caught with one.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. That's what we found in our research as well. So I'm gonna turn to my colleagues here and see if they have any questions for you. James?
Thank you. How you doing, Mr. King?
Not too bad. How are you?
Hey, doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Knowing your priors, knowing your history, knowing what you shared in terms of a troubled past, not having the best examples in your household growing up. When you worked with Sheila and you was talking about thinking for change, that you worked hard in, one of the groups that you worked hard in, give me your biggest takeaway from thinking for change.
Okay, the biggest takeaway that I have from thinking for a change, initially when we started the class, you know, it was to try and catch yourself as the situation is happening, to try and say it just like in the hallway. When the hallway incident happened, I needed to stop. Instead of thinking in terms of how do I get past this, what do I need to do to end the situation? And the reason I say that is because during my life, it's been violence is what I used, or aggression, to maybe stop the abuse, or after I was abused, I would use that. The thinking for a change would have been, and had I used it correctly, to stop, then maybe think about the other options and to use one of those options instead. But the way that I furthered that from the classes that we've taken, I thought that I was getting to a point where I didn't have to replace the thinking per situation, like in the immediate circumstances. I started to get to a point where I could avoid those situations, recognizing different things ahead of time. And it does work. For some reason, though, that's at the best of times. When I find myself in a situation at the worst of times, you know, I still have those failures, but like I said, I still, when the CO said stop, I caught it, I stopped. I was completely respectful to Mr. Nelson, and I followed all their directives. It doesn't excuse the fact that I didn't apply everything that Mr. Rauschman taught me, but I mean, I'm a better person for it, even if I fail in some of the things that happen. It's more of a success than it's a failure. Even, and I hate to look at you and say that, just saying after I just got crap in the hallway.
What it appears that you are trying to describe is that it's a process, and change doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and what you were gathering is how to have some understanding with the process so that it helps you to be better. So in your response to the correction officer to stop, you know, there was probably that instance where you did think, you know, instead of carrying out the act that was taking place, if that makes sense.
Yes.
From active, since those courses somewhat are different, one of the things I like to ask people is their values. And so from active, what would you say that you have as your values today that you didn't have prior to the incident in the hallway there and prior to being incarcerated? What would you say are some values you have today?
Well, I'd always like to think family and some type of morality with how I treat people. I can see where, you know, in inactive, one of the main things I remember was they'd put a target on the board and you would put the things that meant something to you. And then as if I was to use the hallway as an example, where on this dartboard does it place me? You know, does it align me with my morals and values? Does it send me over here? And just kind of like the thinking for a change, it puts it during the best times, it puts everything in perspective. And, you know, like I failed again with using drugs out there. And of course there's consequences for that. But with the active, you know, as soon as your mind's clear again, it makes sense. It's almost like I don't know, it's almost like a poor me. I'm using drugs because I'm sad. I'm using drugs because I'm mad. And had I have applied some of that stuff from active, you know, I would have been able to, you know, narrow down my focus and see that the things I was doing are completely veering me away from the things that I value.
I appreciate that sharing, because with active, it's a process as well. You know, when you're talking about towards and away moves, when you're talking about mental experiences, when you're talking about your five senses, and then, you know, within that, how do you practice that lifestyle? And what you find is that if you can align what you value, you mentioned family, you did say morality, but I think you're on the cuff of understanding some humility and some selflessness, but having the willingness to be encouraged to do any of those things to better yourself. You're starting that, you know, you're in the start of that trajectory towards what you want to do, which is your growth. And what is your growth process? And that's the beginning of stages where you're at, so that you can become and be better, which is what I'm hoping that I'm hearing you trying to say, is that you're trying to be better with, you know, how you conduct yourself. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Actually, that concludes my questions. I appreciate you sharing.
All right. Jesse, anything?
I do. Good morning, Mr. King. How are you?
Morning, how are you?
Good, thank you. So who is one level-headed person you would take advice from?
Well, I do have my girlfriend. She's a college professor in Ohio. My sponsor, who is also my friend. So that's the second person. And then all of the people that I worked with at I worked at All American Scaffolding in Des Moines. And every one of my friends that worked there was in recovery, had all been here. They're all doing great. Obviously, I skidded off the path, but those are the people, like, and what Mr. Moses had asked, when I was focusing on those things, I wasn't out doing the dumb stuff.
That makes sense. You have an STG jacket, obviously, branded AB. So that's kind of my background. So I'd like to hear from you when it started, if you're still active.
So I did some Fed time down in Texas, I don't know, 2000 to 2004, 5, 6. And my dad is a Hell's Angel. So I was brought up, what I would say now is ignorant. I had nothing to do with any of them. Let me answer that right up front. And it's not that people don't have Midwest prejudices, but I try to think now that I'm smarter than to think that thinking that somebody's less than for anything else. No, I don't like, sometimes I get pissed off about dumb people, but there are dumb people everywhere. There's nothing that has anything to do with that, or, you know, the Aryan Brotherhood. Yeah, I was in it, and back then it had certain appeals, but since then, not just with the criminal stuff and everything else, I can tell you 100% that I right now, I feel I'm so much smarter than to ever feel like somebody's less than for any reason. And I kind of live that way. And I think if you've looked at any of the way that I treat people, talk to people, there's none of that underlying. There's no amount of like I'm trying to slip through the cracks as this. I don't hang out with those type of people anymore. And I haven't talked to my dad in I don't even know how long. So I mean I have annihilated anything like that from my life. It didn't exactly stop everything, but I don't have those problems.
At that time, were you considered branded?
I have a patch, an
Okay.
very good patch, but it's
So my next question leading is, you're going to do some Fed time. They're going to see that. How are you going to deal with that?
I asked my lawyer to send me to Ohio and to keep me away. The judge ordered that I not be allowed to be around any Hells Angels, any Aryan Brotherhood. And I mean, they have the little offshoots here in Iowa, and I don't even associate with them here. Probably more than likely, I'm in trouble when I hit the feds because I don't have that in me anymore. So to answer your question, it's probably going to be a big problem for me.
I appreciate your honesty on that answer. I was going to ask you about why you have so much violence in your past, but you explained kind of the way you grew up had a lot of contributing factors to that. Would you say that the problem in the hallway happened because that guy knows you're leaving? And because I used to work the prisons in California, so I know the politics how it goes. And I've seen a lot of sabotage when somebody's leaving, whether it be a detainer or paroling or whatever it is. Do you think that was part of the issue? Have you ever run into this guy and there was no problems, or did you see it?
So in this specific case, he had just got here.
Okay.
Like they did know that I was supposed to be getting paroled. I don't know how much that factored in, but he in the circle of people that we were around in the morning, you know, yeah, I mean, it could have factored in. I don't know how much specifically there. I think he was more upset that I was getting ready to either get out or go do this Fed time, and he felt like I had wronged his friend.
Right. I'm gonna leave you with this. Like I told you, I worked in the prisons in California before, and I want you to know that I do see some progress just from the couple minutes that I'm talking to you here, because what you said is really important to me, because I used to be a CO, and you reacting that way, whatever happened in the hallway, it's not a good thing, but that you stopped when the CO gave you that command is a show of growth. And I want you to know that I see that. So the only reason I'm going to bring that up to you is because where you're going, continue that growth. That's all I can say for yourself, for nobody else, but for yourself. I have no more questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Right. Mr. King, this is an opportunity for you to tell us anything maybe that we haven't asked that you want us to know, or if you've prepared anything for today, the floor is yours.
I had thought a lot about what I was going to say, but I have to be honest that through your questions and through the discussions that we've been having, we've touched on what I think was almost all of it. I appreciate you guys seeing me, especially, you know, after having that happen. And, you know, I appreciate what you guys have all said, and I thank you for the opportunity.
All right, fair enough. So this will be a chance for you to just sit back and listen. We're gonna have a discussion here and make a decision, and you'll be able to hear that discussion as we have it. Sound good?
Yes, sir.
All right, colleagues, anyone want to kick it off?
I can go first if you like. I think he had a good interview. I saw a lot of honesty in this interview, and it's just my hope that this transition time to where he's going to feds is that he understands that this was maybe like a practice run, whatever happened in the hallway of what could happen over there. And I just, so I'm going to be in support of the DOC recommendation of parole to his detainer. And for codes, I would put the PG D6 to the feds with the 10B, the 48 for substance abuse, and the 58 for no drinking.
James?
I actually feel that he's on that growth process, trajectory of growth, and like we know, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a process. I share the same concerns as my colleague in terms of his transition, if preparing him for the parole to the detainer, and hoping that he does get the diversionary program that he's looking for to help subside some of the interactions that he is likely to encounter. But from that all said, I thought he did good. And as we know, he still needs some there's some cognitive growth that's still can be made, and then some substance abuse that too can be also made. So I'm in agreement with DOC's recommendation with the PG, I want to say D5,
Right.
parole to the detainer with the feds. Also, the 40A with substance abuse and cognitive thinking, and then the 50A with prohibition.
All right. Thank you. So, Mr. King, I'll give you my comments. I'll just speak directly to you. I agree with my colleagues. We've reviewed a lot of information on you before we got here today, right? My opinion is you're 48 years old, and you're going to be, much older than that, when you're finally discharged. There are some concerns going into the federal system. I understand that. I can appreciate your concerns, but I think this is an opportunity for you to make that next step, to make that growth, because you're going to get programming that you didn't necessarily get, where you're at. You're going to get that in the federal system, and you need to take advantage of that, because eventually you're going to get out, and it's going to be time to break this cycle. You can't keep doing this, your entire life. So there is an opportunity there, but it's going to be up to you to take advantage of that. So I'm in agreement with colleagues. We are going to concur with the DOC's recommendation to parole you to your federal detainer. The codes that they were talking about, the 10B, that just gets you there. The 40A, these are treatment codes. One of them is substance abuse. Obviously, we've had struggles with that in the past. That's not a mystery to anyone. So hopefully we can get that taken care of, break that cycle. The cognitive, we're in agreement with that, because during the interview we could see those glimpses of growth. And the more growth you have in that area, to put this programming into practice, in real time, and not have to look back and say woulda, coulda, shoulda, we think that's going to be certainly to your benefit. So the 40A for cognitive substance abuse, and then the 50A is just an alcohol prohibition, right? I mean, that puts you, being in bars, liquor stores, places that primarily serve just alcohol, that just puts you in an environment that isn't good for you. So eliminating that distraction, we think, is big. So do you have any questions of us?
Sure.
All right, well, we thank you to your time. Thank you for your time today, and good luck to you.
Wish you well.
Good luck, Mr. King.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Just give us a couple of minutes.
Yep, no problem.
Be right back.
All right.
All right, thank
I don't care. I'm not gonna get back on there. Another new person? Renee Shaw was that sick. Can I hear us?
Oh, Ms. Roush, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Is there anything new from the evaluation that was submitted?
Nope, I think we're all good. He's still a GP3. He's working as a unit orderly. And DOC still supports a work release to the Atumwa work release facility.
All right, thank you. Colleagues, do you have any questions before we get started? I don't. No. All right, you go and bring them in.
All right. Ready? So sit, take a deep breath, tell him your name and your number.
Carlos Leon, 6145745.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. My name is Jesse Rincon. My colleagues today conducting this interview will be James Moses and Dana Wingert. I'm going to explain the process to you first, okay?
Okay.
This interview that will be conducted is considered to be in a public forum, meaning that the public and the media can listen in, but they cannot participate. We can possibly discuss confidential information such as your mental health, your substance abuse, and your medical history. Do you understand this and are you willing to continue with this interview today?
Yeah.
So how this works, I'll start off by asking you to describe the crime in detail. What was going on in your life at the time? Not yet, not yet. I'm just explaining the process still. After that, my colleagues and myself might have some questions for you. After we've completed our questioning, I'll ask you if you have anything for the board that you would like us to know or that you prepared. Then we'll go into what's called deliberation, meaning we're going to make a decision. Once we make a decision, I'll come back to you and explain that decision the best I can, okay?
Okay.
All right. So take a deep breath. Go back to the day of the crime. Tell me what brought you to prison, what was going on that day. Go ahead.
On the day of the crime, just was I'd have to say it was a lot of chaos. I made a decision, a careless one that caused my daughter to be injured. I don't really know what more to say than that. You know what I mean? I
Tell me what happened.
You know what I mean?
Tell me what happened. I know it's tough, but this is part of our understanding.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I spent so much time focusing on my past, you know what I mean? It kept me from having a future, you know what I mean? So I kind of just took everything I've done and just, you know what I mean, buried it away. You know what I mean?
I understand that, sir, but part of this process is just to help us gain understanding from where you were and to where you are now. And we just want to see your growth. I'm not here to judge you, to persecute. You've already been tried on this case. I just want to know the facts of what happened on that day. We need to know from you.
What to tell him, you know what I mean?
Explain to him exactly what happened from the time before the crime, after your charge, what you got charged with, what was going on in your life.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. So yeah, like I said, I made a decision that caused my daughter to get injured, and then Then I ended up going to the halfway house, and I continued to use drugs, and then I ran from there, and then I came here and tried to do everything I can to better myself.
What was the decision you made that your daughter got harmed in?
I had tossed her on the couch.
And what is your relationship with your daughter right now?
Right now, they got adopted, so I don't talk to them anymore.
All right. So did you recently get written up for having hooch?
Yeah, it's been a while though, but yeah.
So what made you take the chance to do that?
I don't know, stupid decision.
Okay. And what was the consequences for you when you were written up?
I had to restart my whole level processes all over again.
And what level are you at right now?
Level 3.
So I was reading through your stuff, through the evaluation and other information that we have, and one of your family member had lied on the visiting application and was denied because she was not truthful about being family to the victim. What happened there?
I'm assuming maybe she just put that she put that down because she's, because like I said, our kids had gotten adopted out, so she probably didn't assume that she was, still family anymore or whatever. I'm not exactly for sure why she did that.
Did you know that she had applied? And
Yeah,
did you-
she applied, but I thought maybe she had got denied because she had just barely gotten off of probation or something. I didn't know it was because she lied on the application.
Do you still have an active no contact order?
I believe so. I believe it expires sometime this year.
You understand that the terminology of that it's victim and victim's family?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And what was your drug of choice?
Meth.
How about alcohol?
Not really too much, to be honest with you.
And the reason I asked because of the hooch.
Yeah, 'cause reports. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But that's just, that was something that's a little more easily accessible here, I guess. You know what I mean?
Well, I have no more questions for you at the moment. I'm gonna pass to my colleagues and see if they have any for you. Dana, you have any?
I do have a few. Morning, Mr. Leon, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Good. So, how many children do you have?
Myself too.
And where are they at now?
They're both adopted by the same family.
Adopted by the same family, so you have no contact with them?
Nah, they've been adopted by a completely different family that, we don't have no contact with them.
Okay. So you have quite the history on supervision, right? I mean, we have a lot of records that we poured through, read minutes of testimony, police reports. You have a discharge date of in 2028. What I'm trying to figure out, I read through your supervision history and all the failures that you've had, from absconding to not showing up for appointments, dirty UAs, all that. Explain to me why this time's going to be different.
Because before, I think my main focus was still drugs. You know what I mean? And now that I've been sober for 4 years, I don't see any reason for me to continue to do drugs, nor do I even have the desire to do drugs anymore.
Okay, so if that's become your priority, then explain the whole hooch thing.
I could basically just say I got dragged into something I didn't really want to be a part of. You know what I mean?
So that wasn't your idea, wasn't, I mean,
Not quite exactly.
But you had to make a conscious decision to participate in it.
Yeah, I did. You know what I mean?
Okay, so then let's go back to the supervision then. Explain to me what you've learned where, let's say we decide to, send you to work release.
Yeah.
What have you learned that when you land at work release isn't going to allow you to be influenced like you recently were? I mean,
Yeah, it's easy to say no, you know what I mean? I've already learned that making these choices has kept resetting me back and resetting me back. So now it's whether I care if I'm gonna hurt somebody's feelings or make somebody mad or whatever, I'm just gonna say no.
Okay, and what did you learn in active that's going to put tools in your tool bucket to allow you to be successful when those influences pop up, because they're going to?
Yep. I think one of the biggest things that I learned is that I need to just take the time and consider my decisions before I make them. Before, I never really did that, you know what I mean? I never really thought too far ahead about the consequences. You know what I mean? Now I've taken the time to consider what might all be affected by the decisions I'm gonna make.
What kind of, me sitting here, I don't have the confidence that you're going to be able to do this on your own, okay? Just from what we've discussed in this interview so far. So tell me, what kind of support system are you going to have where you can lean when the temptations come to allow you to be successful? What support system do you have?
Right now I've got my brother and my mom. They're gonna help me out a lot more now because since I've been here, I've been talking to them and I've told them that, I plan on staying sober. So as long as I stay sober, they're gonna help me with whatever it is that I need help with.
Are they both sober?
Yeah. I'm to be honest with you, I'm the only one that's in my family that's kind of like the black sheep that was doing the drugs and doing all the crime and all the other stuff. My family, you know what I mean, they're successful, they have a lot going on. So all I have to do is just simply remain sober and just do the right, responsible adult thing. And then, you know what I mean, I'll have all the help I need.
Where does the family live?
In Atoma.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Dana. Mr. James Moses.
Yeah. Thanks. How you doing this morning, Mr. Leon?
Good, how about you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. One of the things that came to mind in listening to you talk with my colleagues, because I'm also too struggling with the confidence that you have it together and that it's going to be as simple as you explained. And one thing that I haven't heard since you've had a track record and history of problems throughout this process is, what would your relationship be like with your PO? What was your relationship like prior to, and what helps us to believe that your relationship going forward is going to be better?
I think my relationship that I had with my PO before was decent. We never really talked a lot because of the COVID situation, but I think the only thing that screwed everything up was that I decided to start using drugs again.
Okay. So within using drugs, how was your communication with the PO? Your personal communication.
Like I said, I mean, it was good. I mean, whenever we were talking and stuff, we had good communication. But like I said, we never really seen each other a whole lot because of COVID. We would meet once a week, but it would just be a brief conversation, and then he would let me go.
Okay. So in that time, you personally didn't have no way to communicate or relate to them what kind of challenges, problems, issues that you were having?
Just on the kiosk, I would message him on the kiosk every now and then.
So you had a problem. Is it fair to say you had a problem with being truthful with them?
Nah, maybe a little bit, I guess. I don't know. I've tried to be straightforward with him, but at the time I wasn't gonna come out and be like, oh hey, you know, I'm using drugs again. You know what I mean? So nobody, I don't think nobody really wants to throw themselves under the bus like that. But
And I hear what you're saying there, but is it in your mind that your PO is there to help and assist you
yeah,
being better?
yeah, he was doing good. Like anything that I was wanting to do, he supported a lot of my decisions as long as the halfway house was okay with it.
So what created your distrust in what he was trying to help aid you to do?
He didn't really show me any distrust, to be honest with you. He was pretty decent with me. It's just, like I said, it was the fact that I had started using drugs again is what, you know what I mean, really messed things up.
When I listen to you share with my colleague that you have support and your brother and your mom are two people, you know, and obviously with that sharing with them, I would presume you would be upfront with them when you're going through challenges and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially my brother.
The thing that I'm trying to also put together but understand is how helpful that same relationship could be with somebody who I've heard you characterize as been helpful, and you were more the individual that had the distrust in that help. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the biggest problems I had before too, is I was kind of like, you know what I mean, real reluctant for help, I guess. You know what I mean? Like I kind of would just keep people at arm's distance. You know what I mean?
Right. You completed active, right?
Yes.
Okay. Give me 3 values that you took away. If there's more, please share. What were 3 values that you came away with that helped you with active today that you didn't have prior to being incarcerated?
I think one thing was, like I said before, you know, stopping and thinking about my decisions. And then another thing I realized is that whenever things were going really bad, I had a real bad tendency of just, you know, saying to heck with everything, and then, you know, just going completely off the rails. Another thing was probably it's okay to accept help from people.
So if I'm trying to figure this out, when I hear values, would you say family? Like
Yeah,
what
family,
personal values do you have?
value.
Huh?
What's that?
Like what personal values did you come away with?
Um,
Give you an example. You were sharing with my colleague who was asking you questions, who questioned your support system, or what do you have in place for support? So like what your plan is and what your goals. And you were sharing how to say no. But within that, there's a process in how to say no. What are your plans, or what is it that you value going forward that's going to be helpful for you?
Well, I think first off, I mean, I know that, you know, the chance might come along where, you know, somebody might ask me for something or say something or whatever, but I already know what kind of people, where I'm going, I already know what people to stay away from and things like that. I already know how to keep myself out of them situations. If I don't put myself in the position to, you know, for there to be something to arise, then there's no reason why anything, you know what I mean, should happen.
I'm going to conclude my questions. I appreciate you sharing what you've been able to share.
Can I do one follow-up
Yeah, I was just
question?
gonna ask you.
Because I'm not feeling it here. Okay, you say you know, I know the people where I'm going. I know the people to stay away from. Didn't you know that last time?
I think last time I didn't really care, to be honest with you. This time I cared. This is probably the first time in my life where I actually want to do something different with my life. You know what I mean? Before I didn't care. Like when I got the chance to go to the halfway house, I didn't really care if I made it through there or not, you know? Like I said,
So the
my focus was still wanted to do drugs, and now that's not my focus anymore.
So if I go back and review the last interview with the board, where or your last opportunity to go out to the halfway house, if I go back and review all that, the transcripts of that, then that was just a game at that point. So the things that you were saying, you didn't really mean them, but now it's different. That's where I'm struggling.
I'm not saying that I didn't mean them. I'm just saying that for some reason drugs was my main focus, you know what I mean? And now that's not what I'm about anymore.
But I'm sure you didn't tell, the presiding board or the decision makers that drugs were still your main focus at that time, right?
I never had a interview with this is the first time I'm ever having an interview with the board.
Okay,
I
so
never had to tell anybody anything before. All I had to do was sign a plea deal, and then I went to the halfway house. That was it. I didn't have to talk to no judge. I didn't really have to talk to anybody.
And you knew full well when you went to the halfway house, you were gonna fail?
No, I didn't. When I was there, I was doing the things that I was supposed to do. I worked my way through the level system. It was just that there was a day where I had screwed up and I had decided to get high, and I kept on going from there.
But now it's different.
Yes, now it's different.
I don't have anything further.
Thank you, Dana. So when my colleague James Moses asked you about how your relationship with your PO, that's real important to us because you had a lot of opportunities to reach out and say, hey, and you said, nobody wants to go in there and say, hey, I'm high or whatever. But as a PO we were both former POs. When somebody comes to us, we're like, okay, now you're ready. That's the way a PO sees it. It's not like, aha, we got you. So your willingness to not reach out has affected a lot of the reason why you're there, and there's people out there, and believe it or not, that is a PO's job to point you the right way, to get you the help you need, the services you need. You got to take advantage of that. I have no more questions for you. Like I told you in the beginning of this interview, we're going to give you an opportunity if you want something that we're missing or that you've prepared for the board to hear before we do go into deliberation and make a decision. You have this opportunity right now.
I pretty much, like I said, this is the first time in my life where I've wanted to do the right thing. You know what I mean? I know you guys are worried about me having a relationship with my PO, but I assume that me and whoever it is are gonna have a good relationship because he's gonna see that, I'm trying to do whatever it is that I need to be doing positively,
Anything else before we go into deliberation?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. So just sit back. We're going to go into deliberation, meaning that we're going to make a decision. You can listen, and then when we're done, I'll come back to you and explain our decision, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Who would like to go first?
I can. I'm really, really struggling with listening to what Mr. Leon had to say, that in essence doesn't necessarily give me the confidence from what he's learned and what he's gathered. I've asked him a couple of times about values, and I didn't hear one particular value that he shared from taking the course. When I listened to the relationship with the PO was not even, first of all, mentioned, let alone, it's nice to have mom and brother, but you're in a corrections institution looking to better yourself and trying to prepare to transition out. You would think that that relationship would have been identified in the interim, in the beginning, in the process of these are the tools and the things that I need that is going to help me to be better. And all I've heard is, you know what I mean? And no explanation as to how what he means is going to transition into what is needed. So I get that he has made some conscious effort, and the time that he has been incarcerated is probably the most time that he has gone without any use. But to also not hear about the transition plan in place for potential treatment that we know is going to be important. To not hear just from his point of view, what is going to be part of that process does not necessarily give me the confidence unless each of you heard something different.
We're gonna hold off on the vote right now.
And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Dana?
I don't even know where to start. So, we came out of the gate and kind of glossed over the crime, minimized the whole thing. I read the police reports. I read the medical records. His failed description of what happened is not what occurred. But then we followed that up with, then we just leave it alone. We don't show any remorse. We don't do anything like that. Now, granted, he's already had an opportunity on this, right? And failed. Which I didn't hear the growth. I didn't hear the vision. I didn't hear the progress that needs to be made. I have zero confidence that he's going to be successful. Everything was minimized, and the explanation that I received over and over, well, this time's different. This time's different. Well, I need to know why it's different. But I didn't get that. I didn't get that feeling. I just don't have any confidence that this is going to work. I know who to stay away from now. Okay, well, you knew that last time too.
Right.
We didn't do it.
Right.
Now we're going to put you right back in that same environment, and we're going to expect a different result. Just not seeing it.
For me, myself, it was really vague, and I tried to direct and to give opportunity to explain a couple of times, which I think I was being as patient as I could be and trying to pull it out, give him that opportunity. But I saw a lack of growth, and that's what we're looking for. So the question is going to be for 12, how long? I'm going to be in denial. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah. And I think it's 12. I think there's a lot of growth that needs to happen before I can comfortably say, our role here, we're not the judge, we're not the jury, we don't prosecute the crime, but our role here is to make sure that they have gotten themselves in a position where they can go out in the community and be successful. And we have to lay our heads on the pillow at night, knowing that we made the best decision in that regard. And in this case, I'm not feeling it. I'm also in denial, and I would recommend 12, but open for discussion.
No, I'm there and was there and was looking for feedback from both of you to share your thoughts, because I was hopeful, especially when you look at the history. He talked about not giving a care, and I can still see some of that from the interview that he shared with us. And I'm just struggling with what wasn't necessarily said that gives me or give us that vote of confidence. So I would be a denial for 12 as well.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Leon, You heard us deliberate. Our decision today is going to be a denial for the time of 12 months. And I would encourage you, if you come up before the board again, to be more prepared, especially in describing the crime, what was going on. Even though I understand this hard, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad, relive something that was hard, whatever, but there is a victim out there that we have to take into consideration. I just suggest to you to be more prepared, more open with your answers, and have a plan, because that's what we're looking for, growth. You're on the right track with your sobriety, except for the little slip up with the hooch that you had. But I encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. If you feel that you're doing well with your sobriety, you stay focused on there. If sobriety is your problem, stay focused. But that will conclude this interview. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Did you want to take it? Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good. So we have Mr. McCollum next. Is there anything new from the evaluation that was submitted?
Nope, everything still remains correct from that release plan.
And what is your DOC recommendation?
DOC recommends a work release. He has that Iowa code where he must begin his release in a work release facility.
Oh, do you have any questions? I don't. No. Okay, you can go ahead and bring him in.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're up.
Oh, really? Hello.
Go ahead and tell him his name and number. They should hear you.
My name is Cortez McCollum. My number is 667-2263.
Thank you, Mr. McCullough. My name is Jesse Rincon. My colleagues today are James Moses and Dana Wingert. We'll be conducting your interview today. I'm going to explain the process. This interview that will be conducted is considered to be in a public forum, meaning that the public and the media can listen in, but they cannot participate. We can possibly discuss confidential information such as your mental health, substance abuse, and your medical history. Do you understand this, and are you willing to continue with this interview today?
Yes.
All right. So how this works, I'll start off by asking you to describe the crime in detail and what was going on in your life at that time, what brought you to prison. After that, my colleagues and myself might have some questions for you. After we complete our questioning, I'll ask you if you have anything for the board that you'd like us to know or that you prepared. Then we'll go into what's called deliberation, meaning we're going to make a decision. You can listen in at that time, but you can't participate. Once we made a decision, I'll come back to you and explain the decision the best I can, okay?
Yes.
All right. So let's go back, take your time. Tell me what happened that day that brought you to prison. What was going on in your life? Go ahead.
Well, I was doing a lot of drugs, and I was under the illusion of stuff that was happening that wasn't really happening. And I was riding around and end up making a lot of dumb decisions, committing crimes that I shouldn't have committed, that I wouldn't have made if I wasn't high. But I was high and did a whole lot of dumb stuff that day.
What did you do?
I was driving. I left somebody's house. I was driving down the street, got pulled over, getting out the car, running, hopped in somebody else's car, well, took somebody else's car, and drove, crashed, and got locked up.
Were you under the influence at that time?
I was under a lot of drugs at that time.
Like what?
PCP, cocaine, alcohol.
How long you messing with wet?
Prices, I was like 21, 20. I was 27 when I got locked up.
And that's the last time you used that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm seeing that you were validated as a blood. How long have you been in that?
They changed it from confirmed to suspicion, but I associated with a lot of people when I got into a fight, and a couple of them was bloods, and they said I was a blood from that, but I'm not no blood. I made a lot of bad decisions on my own. I don't need nobody else's help.
I get that. So you're not affiliated with anything?
No, I'm not. That's one good decision I did make, not being a gang member, but man, they decided after 18 years of being in prison that I was a blood because I got into a fight.
Appreciate you clarifying that. You've had a couple write-ups, correct, in the last couple of years? And in 23, you were written up 2 times for illicit substances, and in 24 for fighting. Tell me, after me reading those write-ups, there's not too long ago, why should you be released?
Because I made a lot of wrong decisions, but one of the things I can say is I look at it and see that wasn't a lot of good decisions I made. Made a lot of bad ones, but made decisions thinking about something that happened to me in my life that I've been working on when my brother getting killed. Man, I try to find a way to get over it, but that shit don't work. Man.
How long ago did you lose your brother?
3 years, 7 months.
Sorry about that. Sorry to hear that. The problem for the board, just so you know, is that you're in for a drug charge, and we call these mirroring behaviors, or, you're doing the same, you're using drugs while you're inside, and when you get a drug charge. So we're wondering where the growth is. Where do you think your growth has been since you've been incarcerated?
Man, I asked for help on how to grieve, but man, I ain't never did that before. I asked for help.
No, I get you asked for help, but where do you think that you have changed since being incarcerated from before you came in? What has changed about you?
I know my decisions don't just affect me. I know they affect a lot of people in my life that I love a lot.
You took active class, correct?
Yes, I have.
Did you like the class?
It was a good thing to talk to some people that you don't usually get a chance to talk to.
What did you learn from that class that'll help you not reoffend?
That my thoughts don't just affect me, and my actions don't just affect me. They affect a lot of other people.
Who is somebody that you can count on for good support, good advice?
Mom, my grandfather, even my daughter, my big sister, my little sister. She acted more like my big sister, but my little sister. We got a couple aunties and uncles that's supporting me.
What's the longest time you've been sober for?
Probably about 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years, and that's before this incarceration.
Before and
I don't have any more questions for you right now. I'm gonna pass it to my colleagues. James.
Yeah, thank you. How you doing this morning, Mr. McCollum?
doing okay.
Doing okay? You completed active?
Yes, I did.
Give me what your biggest takeaway from completing active.
Decision making, the process of that just don't affect you. A lot of your decisions affect a lot of people. You know what?
Initially, my colleague had asked you if you liked the course, and you said, and I quote, you like the discussions that you had, but I didn't get from you if you really liked active class. Did you like it or not?
Yes, I did like the class.
Okay, so with making decision-making and knowing that hurts and affects other people, what were some of the other information that you gathered that was or would be helpful for you?
If you think about it before you react, before you do it, most likely you won't do it if you know it's wrong. I mean, thinking first is a big part of it. You gotta think before you act.
Okay. So when I hear you say that, from the class, what do you value today that you didn't value before being incarcerated?
My life,
Your life. And what else would you add to your life that you value that you didn't value?
no, when I came in, I had kids, and now I got grandkids, so my time, lost a lot of time for nothing.
Lost a lot of time. Okay. So with hearing that, what kinds of plans, if you were to be released, that you have or that you have tried to put in place so that if you are, you're able to show what your plan is going to be going forward?
I want to get in a job to support myself and not having to depend on nobody else. I mean, you gotta depend on a lot of people here, but get a job and just value my time.
Okay. And is it fair to say that you might be a little nervous right now?
A lot nervous.
Okay, all right. Okay. So with that, Sharon, can you add to, getting the job? What are some things that you've thought about that you feel or that you know would be helpful towards if you were to be released? What would be helpful for you, Mr. McCollum?
What would be helpful for me,
Yes, sir.
knowing I got people that support me and just learning the value of time, knowing that I ain't got that much.
When I hear you say you don't have that much time, can you share with us what that feel like or what that meant? What does that help us to understand? How can you help us to understand that?
I'm 45, man, you know, younger. Man, I don't know, man, a lot of people don't live past 70s, 80 or whatever, but I mean, I spent most of my life in prison, so man, this ain't this ain't pretty much, this ain't for me no more.
I appreciate what you've been able to share thus far. That concludes my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Dana?
Yeah, just a couple quick ones here. So it looks like in 2006 you got paroled, right? And I think that was in October, and then by January you had absconded. And then we had the whole incident that happened in downtown Des Moines that you described earlier. What's going to be different this time? Because we're going to the same place. I mean, we're going through the same system. Just explain to me what's going to be different this time.
Back then, I really didn't care. I mean, I didn't care about a lot of things back then. And now I know my time is more valuable than I thought it was.
Yep, I agree with that. And obviously you have family in the Des Moines area, right?
Actually, my family is in St. Louis. I mean, when I go to work release, I plan on going back to St. Louis with my kids and my mom and all that, my granddad.
Okay, what do you have do you have any support system in Des Moines?
I have a couple friends that don't get in trouble. But my support system basically gonna be me and my mom when if I have to stay down there, she plan on moving down. I mean, not moving up from St. Louis, but she plan on moving to help me, whatever.
Okay, so is it safe to say that your PO is going to be probably a major player in your success?
And I would hope to say that I'm gonna be a major player in my success. But I mean, the PO gonna play a part in me doing what I need to do.
Excellent, good answer. So what about any, are there any old associates hanging around Des Moines that you're going to have to keep yourself away from?
Nah, I don't, them type of associates, I ain't got no more time weeding them out my way.
Okay. I didn't have anything else.
Thanks, Dan. Do you have any
Thank you.
No, actually.
Okay, Mr. McCollum, like I told you in the beginning, if you have anything that you would like the board to know before we go into deliberation, I mean, we're gonna make a decision, you have the floor if you want us to know anything.
Nothing I really can say it already.
Okay, thank you. So just sit back, we're gonna go through our deliberation right now, and then when we come up with a decision, I'll come back to you and explain, okay? All right, thank you. Colleagues. Do you want to go first, Dana?
Yeah, I can go first. So, I mean, it's been 18 years. That's not lost on me. I remember when this occurred vividly, actually. And the most telling thing for me, for him, he spent a lot of time on this. But the telling thing for me was he realized kind of what he lost in the last 18 years. And, he talked a little bit about family, but he talked about time. And when you talk about time, you're probably talking about family too, because he went in with kids, now he has grandkids. I think he has incentive to be successful. He talked about his family and his main body of support being in St. Louis. He won't have to worry about that if he isn't successful at work release. And I think he understands that. I mean, he's got a lot to lose. But I think he understands that. I can support the DOC's recommendation on this one just because I think he's grown up, he's matured. He knows what he needs to do. And the ball is completely in his court here. Everything to gain. by being successful. And hopefully that'll be the incentive that he needs to stay on the right course. And obviously, the codes, 48 for the substance abuse. I think the 50A is also appropriate to, keep him grounded and on the right path and away from the element that might lead him astray.
Thank you very much. Mr. Moses.
Yeah, I agree with my colleague. I, for some reason, I saw some humility and in that the time that he lost when making decisions. I'm sure if he wasn't as nervous, he probably would have shared with us a little bit more in his own way and how he may characterize and share, if he felt comfortable in a comfortable space. But realizing the time that he has invested in corrections due to choices and decisions that he's made for himself, I think he sees that he sees a better opportunity in decision-making and not wanting to involve himself with the former friendships that led him to be where he's at. Seems like he wants to be with family, although primarily his family is in St. Louis. Hopeful that there could be some works that could help that come to fruition. If that's where a lot of his support is, I hope that he takes advantage of what he has here, which building the relationship with the PO and those individuals that will be helpful towards this journey of growth. So I too am in agreement with my colleague. I'm in agreement with DOC's recommendation. WRG C11P, still I think with the 10B, since going to the work release at Fort Des Moines. The 40A with substance abuse, wanted to ask you both about, do we think that there may be any mental health just from an eval, just to sharing, just being able to still talk and communicate with someone? Or is that something that is established through cognitive and substance abuse? What may be your thoughts to that?
I guess I wouldn't be opposed to that. I mean, the world's a little different than it was
18 years
18 years ago. It certainly can't hurt. And, while he's, the support here locally is going to be minimal, that may provide, another safety net, another level of support that could help him. So
mental health or cognitive?
I don't know. I thought about, what do you think?
I think either way can go well. To tell you the truth. So whatever you guys want to agree upon.
Yeah, I think either way can go, but I don't have.
Want to just go for a baseline on mental health?
Yeah, baseline on mental health.
Okay.
Be directed, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the 50A that my colleague did also mention.
The other thing, I think this is a C11 because of his charge.
It's WRG C11.
I think, I'm pretty sure, because of his charge of robbery first. So I think if it's not, we can change it. But I can ask Trish. So.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, we can always change it. That's the case. So, and my thoughts on this is exactly, we're never going to fault somebody for being nervous, and I can definitely see his nerves, and that's no fault of his after all this time he's done. So I'm in agreement with you guys as well to support the work release with the codes you had mentioned. I do like the mental health baseline. I will deliver to him right now. Hello, Mr. McCollum.
How you doing?
You heard us deliberate. You probably heard me say, we're never going to fault anybody for being nervous during an interview. That's just normal, natural reaction, how that goes down. And so you had a good interview. You did stress that, time is very important to you now, and it's valuable. It really is. And you got to make the best of it from here on. At 45 years old, you did 18 years. A lot of things have changed. Be prepared for that change, mentally. You heard us talk about some codes. All three of us are in agreement of the work release. I think your code's gonna be under WRGC 11. We're gonna put the 58. We don't want you drinking alcohol, period, no alcohol, no liquor stores or bars. Also, we want you to have a substance abuse evaluation. We also want you to have a mental health evaluation, just see if there's any help that you might need to transition through. It's not a bad thing, trust me. So do you have any questions regarding any of that? Well, we wish you well. We hope that you stay focused and we hope you draw near to those that will help you. Good luck to you.
Good luck.
I'll conclude this interview.
Good luck, Mr. McCollum.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Till next time.
Thank you.